Research shows that not only does high self esteem create a more satisfying work life and better physical and psychological health, but it also predicts better and more satisfying romantic relationships. You may be wondering, couldn't it be the other way around? Wouldn't having a great relationship boost my self esteem? It's plausible, but the research says otherwise. In fact, when people with high self esteem had a relationship that went on the rocks, their self esteem was unaffected. They did not view the level of happiness in their relationship as a direct reflection of their self worth. The rewards of solitude. Once you're spending productive time in solitude, you begin to know your own personality, values, and goals. During this process, you develop qualities that prepare you for love at every stage of a relationship in several ways. 1. Mind. We develop the ability to see and know ourselves without the influence of another mind. Frida Kahlo said, I paint self portraits because I am so often alone. What is a self portrait but a study of oneself? An attempt to visually portray self awareness. Solitude allows us to understand our own complexity. We become students of ourselves. In her first apartment, my friend Marie and her roommate had an occasional problem with huge flying water bugs. I absolutely could not handle it, Marie confesses. Luckily, my roommate Yvonne was a champion water bug slayer. If I came home to one, I just went out to get a drink and wait for Yvonne. But then Yvonne went away for the weekend, and on Friday, the first day of her solo weekend, Marie came home to find a water bug in her room. On her pillow. I called Yvonne in a panic. She told me to whack it, but I just couldn't. So I sat there and stared at the water bug for a long time. I thought about how unfair it was that I should hate it so much when I love butterflies. And then I opened the window and used a broom to gently usher it out into the world. This was a small moment with a small creature, but Marie learned something about herself that she never would have if she continued to let Yvonne handle the problem for her. When we are alone, we fully rely on ourselves, figure out what we care about, and learn who we are. We learn to navigate challenges on our own. We can, of course, welcome help if it comes along, but we don't expect or depend on it. As those of you who read my first book, Think Like a Monk, may remember, one of the texts I refer to most frequently is the Bhagavad Gita. Part of the Mahabharata, which was written nearly 3,000 years ago, the Bhagavad Gita is a dialogue between a warrior Arjuna and the god Krishna on the eve of a battle. This may not sound like it has much to offer modern humanity, but the Bhagavad Gita is the closest thing the Vedas have to a self-help book. In it, Krishna says, the senses are so strong and impetuous, O Arjuna, that they forcibly carry away the mind, even of a man of discrimination who is endeavoring to control them. In other words, if we're not careful, we can be attracted to something superficial or inauthentic. We have to train ourselves not to instantly like and trust the most attractive person in the room without remembering that we don't know this person or understand them. Solitude helps us master the senses, the mind, because in solitude we're only dealing with one mind, one set of thoughts. These days, our senses are constantly overstimulated, not just by people but by all the unfiltered information that bombards us. Everything competes for our attention, and amid the noise we have no chance to identify what's important. They say love is blind because when we are overwhelmed by sensory stimulation, we can't see clearly. The senses attract us to the newest, nicest, shiniest thing without giving us a chance to reflect before we make decisions. Our senses don't make the best decisions. The Bhagavad Gita says, as a strong wind sweeps away a boat on the water, even one of the roaming senses on which the mind focuses can carry away a man's intelligence. There is nothing wrong with attraction, but we are easily carried away by what looks appealing, feels good, or sounds right. In solitude, we learn to create space between sensory stimulation and decision making. If we are constantly looking for love or constantly focused on our partner, we'll be distracted from the vital work of understanding ourselves. If we don't understand ourselves, we risk taking on the tastes and values of our partner. Their vision becomes our vision. We might choose to sign on to someone's vision because we admire it, Someone might be a skilled cook whose tutelage we gratefully accept, but we don't want to mold ourselves to someone else simply because we don't know ourselves. I've had too many clients who don't realize until 20 years into a relationship that they've lost touch with themselves because they've outsourced who they are. We can integrate our partner's taste with confidence and autonomy if we bring our own to the table. Through choices we make in solitude, we set our own standard for how we want to live and love and be loved. With the space to write our narrative from our own point of view, we gradually overcome the influence of movies, books, our parents, or caregivers' model, or a partner's wishes. We clarify our vision of love. Solitude helps you recognize that there is a you before, a you during, and a you after every relationship, forging your own way even when you have company and love. Then, when our narrative intersects someone else's, we don't make choices based on infatuation or follow someone else's vision of love or passively let things play out without knowing what we want. Instead, we gradually express the standard we've developed to see how it fits with theirs. And when we're in solitude again, we reflect and evolve. Self control and patience. Two of the key skills we learn in solitude are self control and patience. They're connected because the more we improve our self control, the more patient we can be. Without these two skills, we become prone to following our senses and whatever attracts us. Self control is the time and space you create between the moment when you're attracted to something and the moment you react to it. Buddhist teacher Rijgen Sikpo writes, desire is something we project outward onto another person or object. We think it exists externally within the object of our desire, but desire actually lies in our own body and mind, which is why we relate to it through the feelings it produces. When we can separate our own feeling of desire from the person we desire, we begin to feel less controlled by it, and we can take a step back and evaluate it from a more detached and less urgent place. Instead of letting your senses lead the way, the gap that you create gives you the restraint to make sure the reaction is aligned with who you want to be. That ability to restrain yourself to create the space is enhanced by self knowledge. Solitude gives us time and space between attraction and reaction. We ask ourselves, is this truly healthy for me? Will this nourish me? Is this good for me in the long term? We develop the self control to pause and ask ourselves these questions, and the patience to take our time answering them. We learn the difference between what feels good and what feels nourishing. Often, if something is healthy for us, it seems hard before but great after. The clearest example of this is exercise, but it extends into more complex decisions like giving up a Saturday to help a friend move or breaking off a relationship that you know isn't working. And that which is unhealthy for us seems great before but doesn't pan out well. Think about how great the idea of eating a big piece of chocolate cake seems before you do it, but ultimately it's not good for you. The same is true for more consequential decisions like bringing a date to a wedding because you don't want to be alone, even though you know it will give them the wrong idea. A whole self. We've been trained to look for our better half or someone to complete us. Does that make us the worst half? Does it mean we're incomplete without a partner? Even if those phrases are said lightheartedly, they set us up for dependency on someone else that can never truly be fulfilled. We look to our partner, essentially saying, I'm bored, entertain me. I'm tired, energize me. I'm angry, make me laugh. I'm frustrated, comfort me. I'm unhappy, cheer me up. We treat our partners like human Advil, looking to them for instant relief. We're not entirely wrong to expect this. Partners actually do co regulate each other. Changes in your body prompt changes in their body, and vice versa. Neuroscientist Lisa Feldman Barrett writes, when you're with someone you care about, your breathing can synchronize, as can the beating of your hearts. This connection starts when you're a baby. Your body learns to synchronize its own rhythms by first synchronizing to your caregiver's rhythms, and it continues into adulthood. But, as Barrett points out, the best thing for your nervous system is another human. The worst thing for your nervous system is another human.